Welcome to Native Yoga Toddcast. So happy you are here. My goal with this channel is to bring inspirational speakers to the mic in the field of yoga, massage, bodywork, and beyond. Follow us at Native Yoga and check us out at nativeyogacenter.com. All right, let's begin. Welcome to Native Yoga Toddcast. My name is Todd McLaughlin, and today I bring to you Darnell Moe Washington. Moe has a story that's going to change your mind. It's going to open your mind, and I think it's going to replace any doubt that you have with love and compassion. His story is inspirational, powerful, and it is an example that all of us have the ability to change, to rehabilitate, and to serve our community in a way that is healthy and productive. Visit him on his website, AfricanAmericanCH.org, which stands for African American Community Healing. And also take a look at prisonyoga.org, as the topic of this conversation is punitive justice versus restorative justice, and the role yoga and meditation can play in the process of restorative justice. I'm honored that Moe trusts me to hear his story and to share his story. Please go to his website and make a donation. It'll help his community in Los Angeles have access to yoga and his teaching. And I just think that when you hear his story, you're going to be as inspired as I am. And so with that being said, also, if you know somebody who is looking for a guest speaker, Moe does do guest speaking and motivational speaking. So if you can help him spread his message, if you can share this podcast with as many people that you know, care about, and love, ultimately with the intention of helping Moe and to help build this program that he is putting together. And again, I'm just so happy to be here, and let's get started. Today, I have the opportunity to bring to you Darnell Moe Washington, and I'm really honored to have this opportunity, Moe. I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
You know, I learned about your story, which I find extremely inspirational, from a friend, Robert Sturman, and he introduced us. And thank you so much, Robert, for making the introduction. And I've been thinking a lot the last few days before now, like where can I start? And so I think I'd like to start, Moe, with what do you feel like yoga and meditation has done for you in your life? How has it helped you?
Well, in different forms, I know yoga from the beginning made me deal with my masculinity, because of my perception of yoga and people who did yoga. So that was one thing. Through my meditation, it's helped me slow down and sit. And I find that I find that I can resolve things much better after sitting and meditating. So that's been like very, very helpful to me.
Yes. Amazing, Moe. And, on that note, can you fill me in on some of details about your story? And if we start back around about when you're in high school, can you talk a little bit about the events that led to you spending time in prison?
Well, I was in high school. I graduated from high school, was in my first year of college, and came home, and my 15-year-old cousin was shot point blank in the forehead with a shotgun. I couldn't really stay focused anymore in my classroom, just seeing that image implanted in my head. And through the anger and the grief, I chose to drop out of college and started gang banging. And it's the same time crack cocaine was coming in our community in the early 80s, like 83, 84. And it just snowballed into me gang banging. And that led me to ended up shooting and killing one of my homeboys, who I set up one of our other homeboys to get killed, and I made the decision to shoot him as well.
Wow. And this is all in Los Angeles, correct?
Yeah, this is all in South Central Los Angeles.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And so were you arrested at the scene, or was it time from the actual event to when you were incarcerated?
No, I was arrested about a year later. I was arrested, then let go, but then arrested, rearrested again about a year later.
Wow. And what was your sentence?
35 to life.
Oh,
Yeah.
where did you start your sentence?
At Corcoran State Prison. Yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit about what that was like when you first entered in, and where you're at mentally, and the realization of what sitting in a cell was like for you?
Well, this wasn't my first time in prison. I had been in prison prior in 1988 as well, but this time coming, the whole system was different. And just looking at everything that was going on in the yard, and at the time, still being a gang member, I was like, I'm just done with this. And, a thought came to my head is that how can I be in prison influencing another man's son to live a negative lifestyle in prison, but getting on the phone and wanting the best for my sons? So at that point, I made the decision that I'm just going to turn my life around and use my leadership in a positive way.
Wow. At at what point were you introduced to yoga and meditation while you were incarcerated?
I came to prison in 1998. I was introduced into it in 2012. I was transferred to San Quentin State Prison, and they was having a health fair. And they had all these different, things about health. And someone said, "Hey, Mo, why don't you come try yoga?" Because they knew I would try anything. And I went, and it was like, all right. I'm like, okay, it's all right. And then one of my friends in one of my group, Red Fry, he decided to invite me to where I can practice on a regular basis in class, and it took off from there.
Mm. What type of realizations did you start to have as you went into the world of meditation and looking within?
Well, through meditation, I realized I had a lot of different issues that wasn't addressed, and I needed to address them. So, just being able to just sit sometimes and not even speak, just sit and just sit with what's going on. And then I can come back and make the right decisions. Uh, and that helped me a lot. And I joined the Buddhist group as well. And so I was going every Sunday to the Buddhist group. I love to practice, the Four Noble Truth. That's basically what I stay focused on. And in that, it has helped me, like, my life grow immensely in a much more calmer way, I would say. Understanding that, we're all interconnected, and understanding that people have different life experiences. So their view of life and my view of life is going to be different. And I can sit with that and understand that and not be, judgmental of them because of the way their upbringing was. But my main thing is, like, what I learned from this is that we all have a commonality. So go to those commonalities first, and then maybe we can work our way out to deal with other issues that keeps us far apart.
Hmm. You have a website that is AfricanAmericanCH.org, which is for African American Community Healing. And you're able to facilitate yoga and meditation now that you are out of prison. Can you talk a little bit about what it is like for you to facilitate this within your community?
Well, the nonprofit, I wrote out and everything I did it while I was in prison. And, believing it was going to happen. And I came home. Me and James always talked about him coming to my community and running a class. And Robert Sturman, who introduced me to you, was one of the cameramans who came into San Quentin. And we said we would hook up when we get out because I was from LA. He was from Santa Monica. And so I came home. He was come take pictures of the people in the community. And I'm telling my friends about it and community members about it. And they were like really interested in it. So invited James down and we did a workshop.
Mm.
And we did a yoga workshop and the community members was like really excited about it. And a lot of them was asking me, how much it would cost. And I was telling them it's not going to cost you anything. I'm doing this through my nonprofit. I'm going to start running this program in our park, in the gym, and then you will have free access to it. If you would like to donate to the program, that's cool. But I want you to be able to have full access to this practice, which I've been practicing, without you having to worry about, taking money from your food or anything like that.
Oh man, that's amazing, Mo, that you've been able to make this sort of turnaround. One thing I would love to ask more questions about is like punitive justice versus restorative justice and how yoga and meditation plays into this. But before we even go a little deeper in there, I'm curious because I have never been around gang related activity. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like being in that world?
Well, it's like, people from the outside looking in think that it's all violence, but it's really like family. Like my uncle is one of the ones who started our gang way back in 1963. And they used to go to Griffith Park, and I would be a kid and see all these people gathering together. There's a lot of things going on in the 60s. And then, like, even when I started gang banging, we had a lot of picnics, we had a lot of parties, barbecues. We did things to come together. But then there was violence when someone got hurt. There was retaliation. And through that retaliation, it's like a repeated cycle. Like say like my cousin being killed and then someone else getting killed and then going to seek revenge. It was like a repeated cycle that was going on. And it just reverted all the way back to when my cousin got killed, seeing someone else, and just all these people, young men that was getting killed where no one was over 21 years old. So just
Wow.
imagining our community having a beautiful community and then next, boom, people are getting shot and there's drugs. You didn't have time to adjust to this thing. So you just went along with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What gang were you in, Mo?
I was in the Bloods
Got it.
and our neighborhood is called Van Ness. So we was called Van Ness Gangster and we were Bloods.
What is the origins of the Crips and the Bloods in relation to how did there become such a intense rivalry between these two gangs?
Well, I think through like time, I think that like the 70s and stuff, they might fought more. But in the 80s, when they brought crack cocaine into our communities, we started having more money. Being that you ever have more money, you were able to buy more guns. And then guys we used to grow up with that used to come to our park that stayed across the tracks. Once my cousin got killed, it was like, they not coming back over here no more. And it just snowballed into one thing, one person getting killed, another person getting killed. And it just became a cycle of violence.
Understood.
Hmm.
Mo, I cannot imagine what it is like to be in prison. Like I can't imagine it. Can you fill me in a little bit about what what is that like? I mean, I've always heard like San Quentin being one of the hardest prisons in the country in terms of dangerous and difficult. But then upon our pre-podcast conversation, you kind of educated me that that's a lot has changed. Can you tell me what it's like being in prison? I mean, I just can't even fathom it.
Well, I think, starting off just being locked up and being told what to do, how to do it. And then you have violence going on where people on someone for drug debts and somebody's getting stabbed or it turns into a big riot and those things like that. And then, at the same time, uh, you practice restorative justice and people didn't know it. And I didn't know it at the time, because it could be a riot and then people come together, negotiate, resolve the situation. We go back to, a normal program with one another. But, it's a lot of different things, different ethnic groups has their own politics, per se. And that creates a lot of problems as well. but you can also, negotiate a lot and communicate with people a lot as well. And so, like the whole prison system has changed. It's way less violence. Even at all prisons, you still have like stabbings, but a lot of it's like in-house, basically gang members stabbing their own gang members up. It's not as many riots and things like that anymore.
Wow. When you decided to use your prison sentence as a rehabilitation opportunity, was getting out of the gang something that you had to think really long and hard about? And is that extremely difficult, or what was the process for you to to make that step?
Well, different ethnic groups have different gang policies. Like African Americans, we can just say, man, I'm cool. You know, I'm not with this no more. They get involved religion, different things. We don't pressure nobody into being anything. I had a lot of respect when I came into prison, like my reputation from the streets. And even though like I walked, I couldn't say completely walked away. I just prayed on it, like, let me use my leadership in a positive way. So I still hung around my homeboys. We worked out together. We did things together, but I always wanted to be that voice of reason. So if you had someone older influencing the youngster to do something negative, I would pull the youngster to the side and give them another option to do something positive. If someone's trying to do something positive, somebody's talking negative about them, I would talk to them about like, they doing the right thing. Look at us in prison right now. So some people just didn't like it, but with my violent past and people knew how I once was, I gained a lot of respect through that and just influencing these guys in a positive way.
Amazing. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of believing, people feeling belief? I had the opportunity to listen to an amazing TED Talk that you gave, and I'll include that link in the description so people can check that out as well. But I showed both my wife and son, and we were all in tears after listening to it. In terms of inspiration, I'm curious if you'd be willing to talk a little bit about how important being believed in, or also sharing belief in someone is in this sort of recovery.
Well, what do you mean recovery from prison?
Yeah, or recovery from, I suppose, um, integration back into society and having the feeling that how are people going to receive me?
Yeah, I think like for me, like a lot of people say, "Oh, you did a 26-year prison sentence," and I always like, hey, no, I was on a 26-year retreat.
Yeah,
You know, in dealing with healing, accountability, responsibility, mindfulness, just getting everything in line. So coming back home and the person I was when I came home is like society accepted me. My friends accepted me. People listened to my story and they accepted me. So it wasn't a problem because I was coming home and giving people a version of transformation. I was a good kid, never missed school, accomplished all of these things while I was in high school. And then a tragedy happened. And from that trauma and shame and guilt not being there for my cousin when that happened, it's made me go violent. I never, we didn't have counseling or any of those things that we have nowadays for children when they go through things. And so after going to prison and doing that retreat for those 26 years and, being able to deal with all of my issues, I was able to transform my life back again to who I truly am and to live that life to the fullest. So I give people that example of my life to where, we should not judge people because we don't know their life experiences, and just let them know like you have bad life experiences as well, but there's a healing path that we can take and we can do it together or you can do it on your own. But, no one has to stay in that stagnant place.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Amazing. I with when I looked and studied the prisonyoga.org website, I noticed that they listed like punitive justice into like four categories of like retribution, deference, incapacitation, and retributive justice. Can you, and I guess punishment is imposed as a form of vengeance for the wrongdoing. In relation to restorative justice, how does restorative justice redirect this idea of the method of rehabilitation just through being kind of locked up? How does the restorative justice kind of approach that differently?
Well, while I was in San Quentin, I was one of the head facilitators of restorative justice. And what it does, and which is really so important, it brings like the victim or slash survivor, the offender, and the community member all together. And that's one of the things that attracted me to restorative justice. You bring the community members in, because a lot of times the community members don't have a voice. You know, the person gets convicted, gets sent off to prison. The victim doesn't really get a lot of questions answered to know that maybe the crime that was committed against him wasn't personal. It could be from a person's upbringing, not that it justifies it, but to hear someone's story which led him to where they was able to commit a crime, it gives people a better view of things. And then community members being able to have a voice, and about what's going on. And, it doesn't mean that you don't go to jail, you don't. But the thing is that restorative justice tries to bring healing. And I think it tries to bring more of an understanding of why this happened and how can we deal with this situation. Because I believe that, yes, we have a lot of people in prison, but our whole society has a responsibility to that. It's a lot of things that lead people to prison, and people think it's only an individual act, but it's us as a society. Like for instance, in my community, after I graduated, our community was flooded crack cocaine. There was defunding the education, social programs, all of these things, which left people with nothing to do. So what happens? You bring drugs in the community, what is going to happen? They knew what was going to happen, and this is why it ended up the way it has, and with that comes violence and gangs because people are uneducated, people are not getting healing, and it just snowballs. But restorative justice tries to bring that back and get people's story out. When people talk to me and heard about me going to school and it's not, they couldn't believe it, because a lot of time people have images of especially black men that were just born out of our mother's womb into gangs. No, we go through trauma like everyone else, and we end up making bad choices. And one of those choices was joining the gang.
Well said, Mo.
Mm.
How did your family react to your imprisonment? Were they supportive? Did you have some members of your immediate family, your blood family, that would come and visit you? Did you have anybody turn their back on you? What was the role that your family played in the process of while you were in prison?
Well, my family was very supportive of me. My mother always came to visit me. They had a program called Get on the Bus, and it was sponsored through the Catholic Church. And Get on the Bus program, they would raise money, and then Father's Day, you would just sign up and give them your family members' contact, and they would bring your kids on a nice, like, luxury bus to come visit you. And they pay for all the food, pay for all the pictures and all of those things. So my mother would come up every year with that because she didn't have to pay or anything like that.
Yeah.
But she stayed, visiting me, and I communicated with my family members, on a weekly basis, talking to them on the phone, how I've been changing and, things that they need to do with, how they need to change and what's helped me get my life together while I'm in here. So send them a lot of positive, my chronos and certificates so they can see what I'm actually doing in prison.
Nice.
Yeah.
How important was that in relation to the other inmates that you were with that did not have any familial contact?
Well, just communicating with them not to give up, but to stay focused on yourself.
Yeah.
And we are family inside here. So we're very supportive of each other, people having family members passing away and guys coming together and giving them condolence cards and supportive of them. So we were like a family inside as well. So if you didn't have family on the outside communicating, we took care of each other inside as well.
Wow. I noticed that even in my local community here, that men will look at yoga and say that's only for women, or I don't think yoga just probably isn't for me because I'm tough, I'm strong, and these sort of ideas. And I would imagine that that would be so much more intense in prison. Like I would imagine just like the masculinity component of like trying to like show how tough somebody is, that to bring yoga into that environment would seem even doubly challenging. Can you talk a little bit about what your first thought was upon seeing it, and what was a turnaround moment for you in relation to accepting that potentially you could get benefit from practice?
Well, just first walking into like tell people I always thought about yoga and I thought about Richard Simmons. And
That was the first guy that came to your
yeah,
mind.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
just to be honest, yeah.
yeah,
So,
that's good.
so so getting into yoga is like, I was like, hesitant, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm this
yeah,
guy. I work out real hard and
yeah.
this and that. And, James is a great James Fox of prison yoga. He's a great instructor and talks you through and lets you know this is not about, muscles and everything. It's about heart, body, and mind and being in line with each other. And as he started talking more about that, I started to realize that my heart, body, and mind was not in the line. So that's why I was going through so many like ups and downs.
Mm.
And coming in there with that masculinity. And I like to tell the story about we were in there doing yoga one day and James had us in plank position. And I'm looking at James like, this skinny older white guy, and I'm out here working out. He's not going to outdo me. And I'm in this plank position and he's holding us and he's just like calmly talking. And I'm over there fighting it because I really can't hold it. And then I'm sweating. And next, I collapsed. And after collapsing, you know, that day I went back to my cell and I sat and meditated. And a lot of things came up. I'm like, this is masculinity. I'm prejudging this person because he's older and this and that. And I didn't just go back in the downward dog like he would ask us to do if he got tired. And then I came to the conclusion this is how I was in my regular life. This is how I was when I was gangbanging. I would keep myself in a position because I didn't want to back down till I ended up just taking off fighting or doing something, an act of violence. And then it made me think like, okay, just think if I would have just backed up out of it, just like with Downward Dog, and catch my breath and get everything in a line, then I can come back into position. And it's the same way when it comes to conflict. I didn't felt myself in a conflict, but I'm so aroused that I can't make a right decision. So I would just back up out of it.
Mm.
And I would come back later when I had a clear head, no thoughts, not like they better not say this and say that. Just go back into it with a clear head and then have a conversation with someone. And it worked out better. And I realized that came up from the yoga situation that I'd had.
Mm.
And it made me realize, okay, this stuff is really working once I connected two together. And that, that was like, an
Wow.
aha moment for me.
Yeah, that is a big one. That's
Yeah.
amazing, Mo. That's so cool. In relation to restorative justice, there's emphasis placed on healing, accountability, reintegration, collaboration. On the note of healing, do you feel like you have achieved healing?
Yes, I believe that I've achieved healing, but it's an ongoing process. Being in gangs and just living in South Central where there's so much violence, I understand like trauma and I understand PTS because a lot of things still come up for me, but I'm able to sit with those things. And I used to drink a lot, but now I've chose not to drink. So I've been sober for the last 27 years. So in being sober, it makes me realize how many things I was suppressing through alcohol because those things still come up now. And I just go sit with them and
Mm.
just sit and meditate and let it process through what's going on in my mind and in my heart and just like let it go through. And then I can just talk to someone about it because it's not like it's not never healing. It's not an ending cycle. It's an ongoing cycle. So that helps a lot. And just being in prison for 26 years, understanding the trauma I went through there, the mentality that's ingrained in your head, like it could be triggering for me, for someone to continue to like to ask me questions, keep continuing to question me. It's like that's a trigger for me because being in prison, they're always like, where are you going? Do this, do that, being told what to do. So coming home and someone doing that, it's like I feel like triggering because it's like I'm free now, so why are you questioning me? But I realized that came from me being in prison.
Mm,
And it's just those little things that be ingrained in you, like coming home and saying, I got to go to a dental ducket. That's something we say in prison. Out here, I go to a dental appointment,
mm.
so those things are like ingrained in your head
Yeah.
and you don't realize it till you say it. Like I'm going to when I was in the reentry room, I said, I'm going to the day room. The day room is in prison. At home, I'm going to the living room.
Yeah.
So learning these things and acknowledging what you really been through, and because I could have came home and been drinking, and I could have been just like suppressing all of those things.
Oh man, that's
Mm,
incredible, Mo.
yeah.
When you do you have moments at home now where you have to force yourself to and get out just for a walk and fresh air, and or are you just feeling so enamored with the freedom of being able to do whatever you want in the moment? How does that play out when you get out of prison?
Well, for me, I like my safe space was the beach, Santa Monica Beach. I used to go there as a kid,
Mm.
and so that's where I go. I like to go to beach and just sit out there. My thing was like I can look at the ocean and look how far it goes back and wondering where it ends at, and that's life possibility. It's the same. So just being in that open space at the beach, like not around a bunch of buildings or nothing, like just space, just to be able to have space to just move. It's really helpful because in prison, you always have buildings, you have gates, so you know that you know, you're enclosed.
Yeah.
So going to the beach is so much this freeness, or just going into hiking and just hearing the sounds that you haven't heard for in years, and understanding that you're free, being in nature. It's like really a healing place to go.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. I had an opportunity, Mo, to sit and do a 10-day silent meditation retreat. And oftentimes I thought, oh, this could be a little bit like being in prison, but obviously totally different because at any moment I could grab my keys and I could go.
Right.
And so I'm curious in the process of, like you said, always having gates around you and walls and always that feeling of being enclosed. When you would choose to sit and practice meditation, how did you deal with those really intense moments that of feeling like I'm enclosed? I don't know. I'm just so curious. Like, I mean, I'm just what it was like for you in your headspace to kind of work through all that.
Well, I think a lot of time, like you can feel enclosed. Like they say, you can be in prison, but prison doesn't have to be in you. And through my practice of, Buddhism and meditation, I came to the point where, that's where I came to that point to where I'm saying, okay, this is a retreat for me. So therefore, I'm not in prison. I'm on a retreat
Mm,
and I'm dealing with all of my issues. And as I'm dealing with all of my issues, other things are coming up. But now I have a practice to deal with those things when they come up.
mm,
So that was making a difference. So it's easy, like I'm in an intern, like you in an internship doing something. So I can have an issue, but I'm responding to it different, through my prayer and my meditation. I know how to make the right choices. And then in my thought process, I'm saying, okay, I'm gonna need these practices. So when I go home, because I knew I was going to get out of prison. So I was already preparing myself to get out of prison by learning these things through my meditation practice and yoga practice and my faith in God. So I already knew that. And then coming home and understanding these things, I was able to use it when I came home when certain things came up.
amazing.
Yeah.
Did you know? I'm guessing, but instead of guessing, I'm sure you would please fill me in. Did you grow up with faith? Did you grow up around the church or in the church?
Yes, yes. Like she like a grandmother, and she would take me to church like every Sunday, up until I was like 12, till my mom let me make my own decision.
Hmm.
So I always grew up around, church and gospel music and things like that. So I always had that inside of me, and then I had to just revert back to that.
Yeah.
And one day I was coming out of church, and one of my friends was at the Buddhist practice because it was right next to it, and he introduced me into Buddhism. So when I came in, they was like, well, Mo, Buddha means awakened one. And like say, if you're a Christian, Jesus Christ can be an awakened one. And there is no conflict. So I'm like, okay. And then I was introduced to the Four Noble Truths, and I was like, this makes a lot of sense. Now, this is like,
Yeah.
okay, there's suffering, there's a cause of suffering, there's an end of suffering. I'm like, this is like really what I really like. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And
Yeah.
I got more into it, and then the three poisons. Then I look at society, greed, hate, and delusion. I'm like, you can't make this stuff up. So I got more, I
Yeah.
got more into it, and I was able to view things in different ways now,
Mm.
and understand people and understand what people are going through, and then just understanding that we're all connected. That was like my biggest thing. We're all connected. We all want happiness. We want all of these things, but we're fighting against it. And, no matter what your faith is or whatever you practice, one of the biggest, the precepts of commandments is to love. So how is we everyone's practicing these different faith or spiritual practices, but there's so much anger and hate. So something is wrong here.
Mm. So interesting to think about, like you said, the Four Noble Truths and life. The first one being life is suffering, and like how you related it to that realization of perhaps while being in prison, and then this, that correlation of maybe all of us in life are on some level or another some form of prison if we're being held down by our thoughts or our feelings or our emotions. And uh, that is so fascinating to hear it from your perspective of having that realization. Have you ever had a crisis of faith throughout the 26 years that you were in prison? Did you have a moment of anger toward God or higher power or society or the events that led you to bringing you there? Did you have any moments like that, or do you feel like you always within just had a really strong sense of purpose and faith?
Well, I don't think I really got to that point of just being angry like that. It's one thing I understand. Once you understand accepting your responsibility and being accountable, my actions led me to prison, no one else's actions. I made choices that led me to where I was at. So I can't blame that on God. I can't blame it on my practice, Buddhist practice. All these are my choices that I've made. And while in prison, certain things happen, people passing away, but understanding that I'll see them again and just having faith to do the right thing still. I was like, okay, things are going to be all right, because there's so much more you still have to live for, in honoring those who pass by me living my life in a healthy and a manageable way is honoring them. So I had to continue to stay on that right track because I knew that people, if I failed and started going crazy in prison, how that would hurt, my family members as well.
Mm.
So staying on that right track, and I had a young guy I used to mentor, and he used like, some guys that, we didn't really get along. And he was like, I'm surprised you haven't did anything to one of them guys. And I said, doing something to one of them guys is not going to resolve anything. They're going to be who they're going to be. My thing is to stay focused on what I'm doing. And I remember when I came home and me and him was having a conversation, and I was like, you remember what I told you? Like, what are you talking about, Mo? I said, remember when I said I wasn't doing nothing to one of those guys? You got to stay focused and do the right thing. And he said, yeah. I said, look where I'm at now. He said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So acting out in violence does not resolve situations. You can practice restorative justice, have a conversation with someone. And even if you guys still don't have agreement with each other, it doesn't have to result into violence. It's like, okay, this is where this person is in his life, and this is where I'm in my life. We can agree to disagree, and we can just move forward.
Nice. That's amazing, Mo. In relation, because you were kind of talking about accountability there, in relation to reintegration, can you speak a little bit on what it's like teaching yoga and meditation in your community and some of the transformation that you've witnessed in the folks that have come in contact with you?
Yeah. I think just like, people seeing me sit and meditate at the park, that was one thing. And then just like coming out there with doing yoga and people like seeing me doing it by myself, in our community, they looking like, okay, who is this guy? They haven't seen me. They don't know me. And they're looking at me. And then next thing you know, Robert Sturman is out there taking pictures of him. We doing yoga and people getting more curious. Now someone's walking up to me and saying, hey, how can I join this? What is it going to cost me? And then I'm telling it's not going to cost you nothing. People started being more open to it. And then when we had the workshop, people got so into it to where like a couple of people said, since that day, I've started by exercising. And then now people ask me, well, when are we going to do it every Saturday? Or are we going to do it this? And I'm like, well, hold on a second. Hold on. That was just an introduction. I got to work on, paying for a permit for 6 months, paying for insurance. Then I was working. Now I know when I can run it. So like I told them, I said, hey, I'm trying to do this right, because if I do this wrong, people can be discouraged. So I want to make sure we have a right schedule. I have all the paperwork done, working with the park as well. And it's like more and more people are calling me and excited about being involved in it. And especially that, they don't have to worry about paying to do it. Because I think a lot of people in our community would love to do yoga, but any place that they go, it's going to cost them, and people cannot afford it to be
Yeah.
able to do it.
Yeah. I hear you. Are you, I know that this is your nonprofit, so I'm curious, have you rejoined into the workforce as a way of generating revenue, or are you focused solely right now on your nonprofit organization?
No, it's half and half. Like I work for Parsec at the railroads.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working at the railroads and I'm working with my nonprofit at the same time.
Nice.
So I'm doing both because I can't not take care of myself, and I
Yeah.
don't want to have to use the nonprofit money to take care of myself. I want to put it into the things I want to do into the community. So I'm raising, little money here and there, and people are donating. So it's slow, but it's like it's grassroots.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
something that's going to be built with the community. I'm getting a scholarship through Prison Yoga Project, so I can get certified, me and my cousin. So when I'm not able to do it, she can do it as well. So it's a slow process, but people are really excited about it. Uh, and just me talking about them, it's going to be a three-phase thing. It's going to be yoga and teach them about yoga and breathing, because so often we get angry. The first thing we do is hold our breath, and yoga teaches us how to breathe, to let it out. So I want to go from yoga to meditation, teach them how to meditate, sit what's going on with them and their lives and this and that. And then the third process would be rolling healing circles. So that whole, now that I'm talking to them about that, and a lot of them say, yeah, we do, because we can hold a lot of resentments and unforgiveness, and it's killing us from the inside out. So that three-pronged process, people are really excited about it.
Nice.
So just now working to get to that point.
Amazing. Have
Yeah.
you had any current gang members come to one of your classes?
Yes, 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 yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a few of my friends that of getting involved in it and excited about doing it. I mean, when you see someone change that used to be pretty, well, that was really wild, and you see the calmness and how they deal with things now, you want that.
Yep.
And like I
Yep.
tell people, everything starts small and then it grows. So the more I'm able to offer it and have more timing, I'm quite sure more will come in, because I've been having a lot of friends pass away due to not taking care of themselves health wise. And so this is one of the things I'm pushing, and, you know, being able to get them to come out and get involved in it is a good thing. And everybody's up to it. Because it's like, who brings this to our community,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
be able to offer it, without pay. So a lot of people are really, interested into it.
Oh man. Mo, if I sit for in meditation pose for about like say 25 minutes or so and I start having pain in my back, in my knees, and I go, this is impossible. And then I meet someone like you who has had long-term, practice with all this, I would maybe be like, wow, how can I complain? Here I'm complaining and I'm learning from you, and you've been through a really challenging and very focused sort of experience with this. How do you navigate? I mean, you are very relatable. I feel like you're really easy to talk to. Do you have moments though where people feel like in awe of you, and you try to bring it down more on a humble mode to encourage people that they can do it too?
Yeah, because it's in all of us. Calmness is in all of us, but first we have to deal with our issues. And that's the most important thing, is dealing with it. But the most important thing, acknowledging that you have these issues, and then you want to deal with them. And just like when you were speaking about being in that position for a while, it takes me back to James, and like in the Black community as well, African American community. I think a lot of people are discouraged about yoga because they've heard bad stories about bad instructors. So yoga has gotten a bad name in the African American community. And that's why I like with James, he always taught us like a modified position, modify the position to where it feels more comfortable. And it's the same thing with meditation. Everyone is not able to sit lotus. You have to switch up. So that's like in life, that's a life skill. Like, hey, I'm in this predicament. I need to change. I need to modify this lifestyle that I'm living to live a better lifestyle. So it goes along with meditation. It goes along with yoga.
Great point.
Mm.
Amazing, Mo. What, as me as myself as a yoga teacher, what could or can I do to be a little better about that? I mean, I feel like you answered this question already, being adaptable and opening up opportunity for people to understand that they can do something differently to make it appropriate and comfortable. And you had made mention that there's maybe a bad stigma with like the super high power fitness, fashion, yoga industry. What advice would you lend myself and or any other yoga teacher out there that can help to kind of bridge this gap between, like what you said, where there's a negative connotation around it?
Yeah. I think one thing I really learned about a lot of things is that, people want to know you personally and how yoga has helped you. So like as an instructor, as you telling them about different positions and how this position help you in a certain way. So you making it personal. It's not like I'm just telling you. People tired of getting told what to do.
Yeah.
But tell me how you went through something and how your practice helped you,
Great advice.
'cause it's like, I love doing twists, you know, and just understanding, just taking a big inhale and then exhale as you twist. How does that apply to you in life? You know what I'm saying? How does like something going on and you taking a big inhale and then exhale and just slowly taking your time in dealing with something or making a move in this day and age where everything is so fast. We're constantly moving fast. And like in yoga, we can talk about those things as an instructor to how you can just take your time and ease into the position or ease out or take that time to just take a breath in, and let out a long exhale. When are we doing that in our daily activities? We're not. We're constantly moving. We're not holding, we're holding our breath and we're not, being mindful of what's going on. And like you say, like we say in yoga, like heart, body, and mind, the average person all three of those are scattered in different places.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah.
Mo, what was your last day in prison? When you were next day you were going to be out, what did that feel like? Were you nervous? Were you overjoyed? Did you have every emotion possible? Did you feel calm? What was that like on that last day?
I think it was like a calmness, but then a bittersweet because you're living a lot of friends that was in prison with you, and they depended on your friendship and stuff like that, and so that was one thing. But just like it was a calmness just coming home into this world that's like after 26 years. You might have did 26 years in the 70s and got out in the 80s. Nothing much changed. But doing 26 years from the 90s to come out in the 2000s, it's a whole nother world. Technology, all of these things, everything is moving fast. It's like it's totally different. So it was like a lot of adjusting and understanding that. Uh, Coming home, like an old guy told me a long time ago, is like, Mo, use your eyes and the ears a lot more than your mouth, and you learn a lot and be more wise. So coming home with that in mind, I knew I was coming home. I'm a father, not to come home to tell people to do this, and that, but to be observant of everything that's going on
Mm,
and
amazing.
just watching things that's going on.
Yeah. Great
And I
point.
think that's really important. Instead of just jumping right into it, no, let me see what's going on first.
Oh man. And kudos for here we are using technology. Was it difficult to make that jump into email, text, social media, websites? Do you feel like you're keeping up and confident in this like reintegration process?
I think like that was like my biggest, like I was really getting frustrated and like somewhat like full of anxiety because every time I like my kids or someone trying to teach them something, it's always a password. There's a username, and it was really frustrating. And then like my practice kicked in to where like I had to just sit like, okay, Mo, if you want to be successful, you have to learn these things. So you can't continue to get frustrated with it because this is a big change. Nothing's written down. You go to DMV, I had to get on the computer. Everything was like on the computer. So once I had that conversation and sat with myself, I was like, okay. So when I had to do something else and the first thing I had to do using anything, I just took a deep breath and I went along with it.
Nice.
And that's what I had to do to where it became normal. And then I think what it also is that most importantly, the willingness to ask for help. And
Mm.
people will help you. And I think that's one of the things as well. Being in prison, you don't really like to ask for help, but now coming home, you have to ask for help to be able to do things. And people have really been gracious enough to help me with all I need to do.
Oh, amazing, Mo. That's so cool to hear.
Yeah.
I know it's like the fourth part of the restorative justice is collaboration. And on the website, it says involves all stakeholders in the justice process, including survivors, those who caused harm, and community members. On this level, I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to collaborate with you.
Mhm.
How can I and or anyone listening help you? What can I do to help you? Because I think your mission is so inspiring and really positive and powerful, and I want to help. And I'm curious, what could I and or anyone listening do to assist and help you?
Well, of course, if anyone is willing to donate, go to the website and they can donate. That would be a plus. Or either someone has something to offer, like I want to get to the point to where we're doing meditation, so I'm looking to get cushions, Zalfus to be able to sit on, to have all of these things there for them to be able to practice. Prison Yoga Project had donated me yoga mats and some blocks as well. So, like I said, I wanted to be a three-phase, so I want them to teach them how to sit and meditate. So I've loved to get cushions for them to sit on as well. And, I appreciate you, even bringing me on your show to put my story out there, and just from hearing me, one way people can help me is to just understand people have different life experiences, and we as a human race cannot continue to give up on people, and believe in retribution is what's going to resolve our differences because we all know someone who's been affected by crime or has committed crime or using drugs, in all communities. And I look at it like if we realize that we are really connected to one another and start helping one another, then we can resolve some of these issues. So any way that they feel as though they can help, donate to my nonprofit, or they have cushions that they would like to donate, or even instructors who would be willing to come have a workshop. I would love to invite them, and like I tell people, yes, my nonprofit is called African American Community Healing, but we are a community of the diversity. And I think diversity is what helps people heal as well. Being around different people, really understanding them is really crucial. So I invite anyone who was willing to want to come and sit and do yoga with us, or you might want to come teach us about meditation. I'm willing to bring them, have them come.
Amazing,
And then
Mo.
that's one way to be supportive of each other. Just like you brought me on your show. So, that's a way of being supportive.
Oh man, I appreciate that. When is your next class?
Well, right now, like we did the workshop, and like during the week I work out at the park, and I'd like run little sessions like on the basketball court with a few people, but people waiting on me. I'm looking at maybe the end of January, because I'm trying to raise the funds for the insurance and the permit and get the right timing. So I want to get it done by the end of January. Coming into February, have it like once a week in the morning time at that park. And so our park is not open in the morning, so I have to pay for one of the park staff to be there for an hour.
Got
So
it.
just getting all of those logistics together, and it's coming together now.
Nice.
And then we can be up and going. But I would like, anyone who's willing to give their time
Yeah.
to want to teach a class or teach, yoga or some meditation. I'm open to
Very
let them
cool.
come.
Amazing, Mo.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Well, next time I come up to California, I can't wait to come and take one of your classes and come see what you're putting together. It sounds absolutely amazing, Mo. I'm incredibly inspired by your message and your journey. Is there anything else that you feel like we could close with? I still have so many questions, but I want to be respectful of your time, and maybe we could do this again in the future. And I really, I just feel honored to have this opportunity. And thank you so much for being open with your story and for trusting me with your story too. That means so much to me. I feel really honored. Is there anything else that you would like to add, Mo, just as final words of encouragement or motivation for maybe any and all of us?
Well, I guess it goes back to my TED talk, and us as human beings believing in each other. People make bad choices, but we can still believe in them to help them to turn their lives around. And I think if we start wanting to believe in people more and give them the resources that they need to help them to get to those points, that's what we all can do. And it'd be very beneficial, in this day and age where so many people talk down on people because they make bad mistakes and bad choices. But if we start believing in each other as human beings, we can make this a better place and realize that we're all connected. All these different communities are connected. And, there's suffering in all of our communities, and we can resolve it together.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing.
Yes. Yeah, Mo. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
All right.
Native Yoga Toddcast is produced by myself. The theme music is dreamed up by Bryce Allen. If you like this show, let me know. If there's room for improvement, I want to hear that too. We are curious to know what you think and what you want more of, what I can improve. And if you have ideas for future guests or topics, please send us your thoughts to info@Native Yoga Center. You can find us at nativeyogacenter.com. And hey, if you did like this episode, share it with your friends, rate it and review, and join us next time.